Hello and welcome to Disclosure Network New York. It's a meeting on Sunday, October 7th. I'm Nick Curto, co-founder and director. dnny is a grassroots organization now celebrating our 17th year of providing 2 meetings a month throughout the year in Manhattan. We focus on cutting-edge UFO, ET issues, paranormal phenomenon, and related subjects. Our members do intensive investigative research into these various topics and share the information with our group at our meetings and also online with our followers online. Our motto, which we did right from the very beginning, is, quote, connecting the dots to seek truth, unquote. I'd like to mention that we have also available to everyone worldwide our dnny News Blast. That's an email service focusing on these various topics, and it's free. Just go to our website, dnny.info, and type in your email address where it's asked for, and you'll be receiving these dnny News Blasts. Again, it's a free service, and it will connect you with the topics that we are currently focusing on. We have hundreds of people, literally, from all over the world that have signed up for this service. They also give us topics and information that we broadcast to everyone else. Now, our featured guest today is Marcy Gordon. Marcy, it's wonderful to have you here to do an interview with me today, and looking forward to your planned program following the interview. A warm welcome to you, Marcy.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me.
And this is part 2 of the group, and I just wanted to just mention the title because I love the title, very creative. It's called, Marcy's title for this is called Shamanic Journey with an Uncommon Shaman and the Real Deal Healer, Part 2. Wow.
Those are my service marks, the Uncommon Shaman and the Real Deal Healer. You've probably seen it on my business card.
I just want to ask you, in your family, has anyone else, your mother, father, grandmother, or anyone else in the family have ever been interested in this kind of subject matter?
No. In fact, they're atheist rationalists, despite the fact that both of my parents were extremely psychic. But they were, for example, when I was 7 years old, my mother got up in the middle of dinner and said, something's wrong with my father. And she went and picked up the phone and called down to North Carolina, and sure enough, her father had been rushed to the hospital.
Wow.
But they still deny all kinds of, so you can't open.
So there is a little bit of it in the line here. There is that reaching for other dimensions in a way?
Well, I am, through my father, a direct descendant of Joseph Caro, who is the most famous spiritual medium in all of Jewish history.
Whoa.
He was a Kabbalistic rabbi who channeled a book called the Shulchan Aruch, which is the basis of contemporary Orthodox Judaism. He had this Magid, this spirit guide, and he would sit and dictate, because in those days, if you wanted to know a point of halacha, of Jewish law, you had to find a rabbi who knew that area of the law. There was no cross-reference. Well, Joseph Caro would channel these commentaries that hooked all of Jewish law together. They call him the great Jewish lawyer, but he was a verbal medium. He would have people over to his home in the evening, and he would verbally channel the prophet Elijah. So, in fact, at my grandmother's funeral, my father's mother's funeral, one of my cousins, whom I don't know very well because they lived far away, walked right up to me and he said, "You have the gift, don't you?" I said, "Takes one to know one."
Wow.
You know, there are some, and my younger sister's also a medium who alternately takes responsibility for the gift and doesn't.
That's fertile ground there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of fertile ground. I had no idea. Wow.
Well, I'll have to send you my little shaman right up.
I would love, yes, please do. And also, just on your personal journey, how did that work? Was it from an early age that you started thinking in these kinds of terms of looking to see what's out there and getting involved? Give us just a quick idea of your journey there.
I can remember being 3 years old and walking out into the backyard and hearing the plants and the animals talking to me. But of course, you know, growing up in this culture, I was told that was, quote, imaginary. And it wasn't until many, 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 many years later that I got my plant and animal telepathy abilities back. Nowhere near as strong on the animal side as when I was little. But I can hear plants speaking to me very clearly.
Early on.
Early on. And at the age of 6, I had my first astral projection experience, which taught me that reality is not what everybody thinks it is. But this was 1962, when, you know, if you were a psychic, you were in the closet about it. You didn't talk about it.
That's true.
And I knew I couldn't share my experiences with anybody because they would think I was either lying or crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also knew intuitively that when I got older, I would meet other people like me. And sure enough, by high school, I knew who all of the other psychics were. They knew who I was. We would whisper about our experiences behind closed doors. And
did you have like meetings where you would
no,
share?
we didn't have meetings. We just, you know, I would hang out with like one of my friends who's
Informal.
now a particle physicist at CERN. I can remember driving around the car with her, the two of us, you know, talking about our experiences. And in college, the same thing. I met other psychics, and it wasn't until the 90s when you had, you know, television advertisements for the Psychic Friends Network that it kind of came to be considered less freaky-deaky.
Absolutely snowballed culturally.
Well, yeah, and that started in the 80s with the explosion of metaphysical publishing, astrology and all kinds of tarot and all these kinds of things. Just the literature just exploded. So clearly there was a mass consciousness shift that was opening people up for the possibility. And of course now, just recently, the physicists have said, I read an article the other day, I should have sent it to you, saying, yes, consciousness continues after death because the human body is like a television or a radio. It can't do anything without the signal, and the signal is the soul's consciousness, which, as Einstein told us, energy can either be created or destroyed.
Yep.
Now, when I said this to my atheist father, he said, I thought it was matter that can either be created or destroyed. I was like, Dad, E equals mc squared. Energy is a form of matter. Matter is a form of energy. That's why when I was in college in the 70s, they were still teaching that neutrinos had no mass. And this was driving me crazy. I was going up to every physics major I knew and looking soulfully in their eyes and saying, neutrinos? How can something with that much energy not have any mass? And they would just laugh at me, but it was because of this equation. Well, in the mid-'80s, I was getting up one morning, getting ready for law school, and there was a story on National Public Radio. Scientists have decided neutrinos have mass. I'm like, thank goodness. But that really bothered me because, and yet, it shows you that a lot of scientists aren't truth seekers; they're dogmatists.
Mm-hmm.
How can you say that you accept Einstein's E equals mc squared, and on the other hand say that neutrinos have no mass? Because wouldn't that violate the equation that you say you hold dear? I mean, they don't think things through; they just accept.
Unfortunately, you're absolutely right, and it takes a lot of years usually before someone will open up that door and re-examine what they've always accepted, which is not necessarily true at all.
Well, for example, today, the vast majority of physicists will tell you that the speed of light is a constant. But it's been known since the 1930s that it's not. It doesn't vary a lot, but since the 30s, physicists have been measuring slight variances in the speed of light, which of course gives credence to the Hindu view of the universe is contracting and expanding all the time, and a lot of Robert Oppenheimer got a lot of his ideas from the Vedantic scriptures because that really explains an advanced form of physics.
So here we go. All right, well, thank you for that little background thing. That's so amazing, and running through your family like that, and that you embracing it and further exploring is what you're doing, and you're doing it right now. You're exploring. And do you have a practice to help people?
I do.
Tell us a little bit.
I have a healing space in my home, but I also, because I use sound, which I'm going to demonstrate later today, I can heal people over the phone. Because we know that sound travels through water. Most of the human body is water. Increasingly, modern medicine is evolving to heal through light and sound, lasers, ultrasound, because that can remove energetic blocks. Because basically, the human body is just energy, which is why in my practice I've been able to do things that Western doctors think are impossible, such as 2 people have been healed of paralysis. You know, one friend of mine came many years ago. He had to have his gallbladder removed at the age of 26, and he was very afraid of the surgery, and he wanted to come to be relaxed. Well, he had been told he had, when he first went for the examination, they told him he had 3 gallstones. So apparently the gallbladder was all really messed up. It had to be taken out. But after his surgery, he asked for one of the gallstones because his mother had done that when she had hers out. And they told him, well, no, that the gallstone went to pathology. He said, what do you mean, the gallstone? You told me there were 3. Like, well, no, when we opened you up, there was only 1, which means that 2 of them were dissolved through that sound. I mean, today, scientists use ultrasound to dissolve kidney stones, so why can't the human voice dissolve gallstones?
Here we go.
Yeah, and it was always very frustrating to me growing up studying science and yet having these abilities until my freshman year of college when I studied quantum physics and went, wait a minute, if past, present, and future are one, then that explains my psychic ability, where I can look at someone and tell them something that happened in their past and tell them something that's coming for them in the future, because it's all now.
It's so exciting that we're finally seeing the realities, beginning to really take a second look at what we thought we knew and reevaluating it. And that's going on all over the place. Thank God for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going on. It's a very exciting time, as you know, right now. So, all right. So, if you want to proceed.
Sure. Okay. I'm fighting with the air conditioning. So that's all right.
You know, I think they turned it on to the
spirits.
Well, is the electrical, is everything okay as far as that goes?
Yeah,
do you want the
fine.
lights dim?
Only if people in the room want the lights dimmed. Will that help you get more deeply
You okay with the
relaxed?
lights? All right.
Okay.
And should I turn off this?
You can leave it on.
Electrical. Sometimes I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. No. It's.
Okay.
Anyone who's wearing a watch will probably want to take it off because that'll help you get. Because the watch has a
How
crystal
about
in it.
cell phones and all that? Want to take them away from your body?
Well, you should always have your cell phone away from your body. That's carcinogenic technology. You know, women who've been carrying their cell phones in their bras get breast cancer right in the shape of a square of their cell phone. So you should never have it on your body. But, okay.
I'm turning this off so we don't have the computer here.
Whatever makes you happy, darling. This is your show. I'm just visiting.
So turn off in a second.
Okay, so I want everybody to uncross your legs, put your feet on the floor, shake your hands out, just close your eyes, take some long, slow, deep breaths. And as you breathe out, imagine that you're breathing out all stress, tension, doubt, fear, anxiety, confusion, anger, frustration, disappointment, everything that is not unconditional love for yourself and all of creation. Just give it to the earth to be transmuted into love. And as you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing in rainbow light from the center of the earth. For when the physicists look at the smallest particles of matter under a microscope, it's all rainbow light, which tells us that rainbow light is the basis, it's the energetic basis of all physical matter. So imagine that you can breathe that rainbow light up through the giant core, iron core crystal in the center of the earth. There's a 1,500-mile wide dodecahedron crystal made of iron. A dodecahedron is one of the Platonic sacred shapes. It looks like a soccer ball. It's a 12-sided object with pentagons. And the one in the center of our planet is 1,500 miles wide. That's from here to halfway across the continent. And it spins to give us gravity. Okay? So imagine that you can breathe that rainbow light, which is the unconditional love of creation, the unconditional love of the earth. Just breathe it up through that giant dodecahedron crystal, up through the magma of the earth, up through all the layers of the earth's crust, up through the basement of this building, up through the floors, and into this entire room. And feel that rainbow light, the love of the earth, the love of the cosmos, clearing, cleansing, healing, harmonizing, balancing, energizing, strengthening, and rebuilding better than before. Every molecule of every cell of your physical and subtle bodies, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And as you breathe out, continue to breathe out what does not serve you, whatever is not unconditional love for yourself and all of creation. Just breathe it out and give it to the earth to be transmuted into love. And with each breath in, breathe all the way from the center of the planet. Feel a strengthening of your connection to the earth. And feel more and more grounded to the earth energetically with each breath in. And breathe up through the whole body of the earth and into all of the places in your physical and subtle bodies where any negativity was. Feel your body getting lighter and lighter with the rainbow light. And continue to focus on your breathing, feeling more loved and grounded to the earth, loved by the earth and grounded to the earth. And feeling lighter and lighter with the rainbow light as you're cleansing your entire being. Focus on breathing in and breathing out while the sounds come to help you cross the dimensions. sound of the wind brings in our ancestors into the room to help guide us. And breathe the rainbow light. And feel your body getting lighter and lighter, and gently lifting up off the earth and floating out past the moon and the other planets of our solar system. And feel the unconditional love that the sun and the earth and the moon and all the planets and moons of our solar system have for you as a fellow inhabitant of the solar system, as a fellow being of divine creation with the potential to achieve divine consciousness. Just float through space. Feel the love of the planets. Feel the love of Mars, our nearest neighbor, and beautiful big fiery Jupiter with its beautiful moons, and Saturn with its spectacular rings and its amazing moons, and big Uranus with its rings too, and its moons, and Neptune has rings and moons, and Pluto, and all the planetoids at the end of the solar system, Pallas, Ceres, Athena, Eris, Ceres, did I say Ceres? All those guys. They're all consciousnesses. And feel the unconditional love of these giant intelligences that is our sun, Sol, and all the planets and moons, along with the fourth and fifth dimensional beings that inhabit this solar system with us, that we cannot see, that we injure every time we explode a nuclear weapon, which is why we have to decommission them all. We're a danger to our solar system and to our galaxy and to creation. But these giant intelligences continue to love us unconditionally, just as our own Earth does, even though we're spiritually unevolved. Feel the unconditional love of the solar system as one giant intelligence. As you float out toward the Kuiper belt that encircles our solar system. And feel the unconditional love of the entire solar system as one giant intelligence, pushing you gently, gently toward the center of the galaxy. And as you float toward the center of the galaxy, feel the unconditional love that the millions and millions of stars in our galaxy, our beautiful spiral galaxy, and the billions of planets and moons that are also in our galaxy. Feel the unconditional love that these galactic intelligences have for you as a fellow inhabitant of the galaxy, as a fellow being of divine creation with the potential to achieve divine consciousness. And as you float toward the black hole at the center of the galaxy, which is the Logos, the consciousness that designed this galaxy, feel the unconditional love of the entire galaxy as one giant intelligence, pushing you gently, gently toward the center of the universe. And as you float toward the center of the universe, toward the universal core, the universal center, feel the unconditional love of the 100 million galaxies with their billions and trillions of stars, planets, moons, comets, meteors, pulsars, quasars, neutron stars, all the celestial beings of divine creation. Feel the unconditional love they have for you as a fellow inhabitant of the universe, as a fellow being of divine creation, with the potential to achieve divine consciousness. And feel the love of the entire universe as one giant intelligence, penetrating your hair, and your eyebrows, your eyelashes, your body hair, your entire skin, all the layers of your dermis, the largest organ in the body by weight and volume. Penetrating down to your muscles, feel that love in all your muscles, in your heart and lungs and circulatory system, in your brain and central nervous system, in all your internal organs, your stomach, your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, your adrenal glands, everything, gallbladder, all the way through your lymphatic system, and all the way through the organ system that's been newly discovered, which is the flow of liquid throughout the body, because it can't be pressed onto a slide like other organs can. Scientists didn't discover it until recently. So just feel the flow of fluid through your body. That's an organ system too. Feel it filled with unconditional love from the universe. Love for you, love for all of creation as one giant intelligence. For all the ancient metaphysical mystery schools tell us about the oneness, that we're all one, we're all part of one giant organism. And this has recently been validated in the last 20 years by the physicists who've proved mathematically that the universe is a singularity. Take that, Dr. Who fans. And now, vibrating with unconditional love in every molecule of every cell of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. Go out to a beautiful, beautiful paradise of an island. Go land yourself on the beach of this island and feel the love of the sun and the air and the water and the earth. Squish your toes around in the warm sand. Feel the breeze on your face and the sun. Hear the gentle rocking of the waves, very calming sound. And ask the water if it has a message for you. It may not. It's okay. And stay there as long as you like, and go explore this island. Your island may have mountains, it may have caves, it may have waterfalls. Explore around the island. And now I'm going to start with Sally. Sally, ask for an animal guide to come and take you on a journey, to show you what you need to see and tell you what you need to hear, so you can walk on your right path and get your heart's and soul's desire. And you can all get an animal guide, but I'm going to be talking to Sally. Sally, what animal or animals has come to guide you today?
Nothing yet.
Okay. A dog? Great. Dogs symbolize unconditional love. Ask the dog to take you on a journey, to show you what you need to see, and tell you what you need to hear, so you can walk on your right path and get your heart's and soul's desire. And notice how you're traveling, whether you're walking or flying or swimming in the water or riding on the dog's back. And notice how the scenery is changing. And when the dog stops, tell us where you are.
I'm sorry, when the dog stops.
When the dog stops,
What?
tell us where you are. Describe your surroundings.
Oh no.
Is it just all blackness?
No, it's more like being in the air.
Excellent. Okay, so the dog wants you to get a higher perspective. How does it feel to be just floating in the air? Is that
It's
amazing?
fine.
Yeah. So breathe this feeling of floating in the air, of feeling absolutely fine. Breathe this feeling into every molecule of every cell of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And know that you can take this feeling that everything's fine. You're programming this deep into your subconscious, deep into the consciousness of the cells of your body. And you can take this back when we cross the dimensions later, back to ordinary consciousness. Is there someplace else your dog wants to take you? You have to ask her. She want to take you someplace else?
Yes. Green grass.
Okay. And why has the dog brought you to this place? What are you supposed to see, hear, or know? Does the grass have a message for you?
I know the only thing that comes through is have fun.
Have fun. That's a very powerful message. So just breathe in the energy of having fun. Breathe it into every molecule of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. Do you want to play with the dog on the grass and have fun together?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you go play with the dog. All right, I'm going to try an experiment that I've never done before. You play with the dog and you keep doing what the dog wants you to do. Now I'm going to talk to Jim. Jim, do you have an animal guide?
No.
No? Okay. Do you have any kind of guide?
A bird.
A bird? A bird, but that's an animal. Birds symbolize the spirit. So thank the bird for coming and ask the bird to take you on a journey, to show you what you need to see and tell you what you need to hear, so you can walk on your right path and get your heart's and soul's desire. And notice how you're traveling, whether you're flying in the air with a bird or you're walking. And notice how the scenery is changing. And when the bird stops, tell us where you are. Just emptiness. Is it black or is it just colorless? Okay. This is the place of the sacred yin, the feminine aspect of the divine. People come here to be rebalanced energetically because we live in such a heavily patriarchal society that women and men have no trouble getting in touch with their masculine sides. But we all have masculine and feminine aspects, and the patriarchal programming of society frequently makes it difficult for us to get in touch with our feminine sides, which are necessary to bring ourselves into balance and thus bring the world into balance. So just allow yourself to feel the love of the goddess mother aspect of the divine. Because even the Judeo-Christian Bible tells us that we're made in our Creator's image, and we're made male and female, which means our Creator's male and female, not a he. So just allow the love of the divine feminine to penetrate every molecule of every cell of your physical and subtle bodies. If you have any emotional pain that needs to be released, any old emotional wounding, give it to the Goddess Mother to be transmuted into love. If you have any pain of rejection by any kind of women, teachers, female relatives, lovers, just give that pain to the Goddess Mother to be transmuted into love. Breathe that divine feminine love. How does it feel to be breathing the Mother's love? What are you feeling, Jim? Quiet. Excellent. So breathe this feeling of quietness into every molecule of every cell of your physical and subtle bodies. And know that you can bring this peaceful quiet back with you when you cross the dimensions to calm any turbulent thoughts, feelings, or experiences that you may have. So stay there with the divine feminine as long as you like. And if the bird wants to take you somewhere else, follow the bird. Now we're going to go to Myrna. Myrna, do you have an animal guide? The lady in the plaid shirt, her name is Myrna? Oh, Sunny? Sonia. Okay. All right, it's your turn. Close your eyes. Do you have an animal guide?
Two of them appeared. First it was the cougar, but then the badger came, and he kind of stood there. I think that was a stronger image.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's possible to get more than one guide. Badger's tough stuff. Badger's a great and powerful guide. So thank the cougar and the badger for coming. And ask the badger to take you on a journey, to show you what you need to see, and tell you what you need to hear so you can walk on your right path and get your heart's and soul's desire. And notice how the scenery is changing. And when the badger stops, tell us where you are.
It's about streams, I think a waterfall.
And do the stream and the waterfall have a message for you? They may not. It's okay. This isn't a test. Do you want to go into the water? Okay. Yeah, go in the water and let the water cleanse you. Tell me how it feels to be in this sacred stream with this sacred waterfall coming down. What does it feel like to be cleansed by this sacred water? Good. Breathe in that feeling of rejuvenation. Breathe it into every molecule of every cell of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And know that you can take this feeling of rejuvenation back with you when you cross the dimensions back to ordinary consciousness. And stay there feeling rejuvenated as long as you like. And we're going to go to, is it Claire in the purple shirt? What's your name? Carol. I gotta see. Okay, Carol, do you have an animal guide?
Several.
Okay.
The one that came to me was a cat, a frost, who then rode the wind and took me to a musical note and then to a musical staff.
Awesome.
And colors were all around.
Wow. Okay, breathe in those colors. Breathe them into every molecule of every cell of your physical and subtle bodies. Because color is a language of spirit. And sometimes those of you who may see little orbs of light, sometimes little colored lights, those are actually spiritual communications. So breathe in the love of these spirits. How does it feel to breathe in?
Refreshing.
Yes, and breathe that feeling of being refreshed into every molecule of every cell of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. And stay there feeling refreshed as long as you like, and I'll come back to you. I'm going to go back to Sally. Sally, where are you? Are you still on the grass with the dog, or are you someplace else?
We're at the beach.
Okay, and why did the dog bring you to the beach?
Not sure.
Ask the dog to tell you. Dogs can talk.
Yes, I know.
They can talk here, but we can always hear.
Because it's a new place.
Yes, and you need to experience something new. Is that?
I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, just ask the dog.
I guess it says yes. Not really clear. Just feeling the water.
Yes. Are there other guides for you in the waters, or anyone else in the water who wants to talk to you?
I don't think so.
That's okay. How does it feel to have your feet in the water?
Oh, it feels good. The rushing back and forth, the movement.
Very cleansing. Okay, Jim, where are you? Are you still in the sacred feminine, or is your bird taking you someplace else?
Serving this emptiness.
In the mountains.
Emptiness.
Emptiness.
No space.
Okay. How does that feel? To be empty space. Nice. Okay. Take in this feeling of just being empty in a good way, in a relaxing, healing way. And just stay with that. Is your bird still hanging around, or did your bird leave?
Still there.
Okay. Does the bird have a message for you?
That's a thought. It's just sitting, meditating.
Excellent. So evidently this bird wants you to just sit and meditate with him. So just sit and meditate with the falcon. It's very, very powerful. And back to Sonia. What's going on with you? Are you still in the water, or did your badger take you someplace else?
No, I'm looking at the water, and I feel a presence next to me, like a spirit guide,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just there.
Okay. Does the spiritual guide want to talk to you, or just hang out?
Just hanging out beside me.
All right. So do you feel nurtured and comforted by this spiritual presence?
It's really a good place.
Good. Good. So just sit there and enjoy feeling good. And Carol, what's going on with you?
From the musical staff, I went to a waterfall, and the water moved down, turned into silver.
Beautiful. Breathe that silver in, breathe that color of silver. Color of traditionally in symbolism associated with the moon. And how does that silver energy make you feel?
Very nice. It's turned into jewelry.
Oh,
Silver jewelry.
beautiful.
That I
Okay.
wear.
Yeah. Oh, so how does it feel to be covered with the love of silver in this form of beautiful
Oh,
jewelry?
it's very nice.
Good. Good. So you stay there as long as you like. Does anyone else want to share where they are and what they're doing? Okay, Rena, what's going on?
I had a communication from a lady named Anakna, and he said, we didn't know who you are, and now we do, and we'll be in touch with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other messages from Anna?
No, he said, nothing now, but we'll be in touch.
Okay. And did your wolf friend come to you?
No, just Anakna.
Wow. Okay. Do you want to try to go back into trance and keep traveling, or are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Mark, you want to share anything with us? Okay. Does anyone have anything to share? Diane, want to share what's going on? No? Hal?
A beach,
Mm-hmm.
at the edge of the beach in a forest, and stones, a path of stone slabs,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 2 stone slabs, and on one side is a seal asleep, and on the other side is a squirrel jumping up and down.
Mm-hmm. Does the squirrel have a message for you?
I think just to come along and follow it,
Okay, follow the squirrel and tell us where the squirrel's taking you.
just towards the forest.
Mm-hmm. And why is the squirrel bringing you here? What are you supposed to see, hear, or know in this beautiful sacred forest?
I'm not sure.
Do the trees in the forest have a message for you?
No, it's just very lush and pretty.
Okay. Well, breathe in that vibration of being in a pretty lush place. Breathe it into every molecule of every cell of your physical and subtle bodies. And feel how it's relaxing and nurturing you. Because, again, many ancient metaphysical traditions teach that beauty is necessary for the soul to evolve. That's why Carol's covered in jewelry right now. Nick, do you have anything you want to share?
I was just working with you in a sense, opening up and wanting to have everyone here have experiences and open up and be better for it. And I was kind of like opening the door for everyone here, hoping that they'd have that kind of experience. That's what I was doing.
You were just holding the energy.
I was.
That's great.
Exactly what I was doing
That's
for the
great.
group.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Betty or Tom, you have anything you want to share?
Betty is
Betty's
asleep or I don't know.
Do you have anything you want to share, Tom? You don't have to.
Well, that cat that we had, who we named Yus, we don't know what his real name might have been, was, I would say, helping me and taking me up in our backyard. In the backyard, we buried all the other cats we ever had. But Yus did not die among us. He came to us out of nowhere, and one day he went away out of nowhere, and we don't know. But he was always strong and healthy, and it seems to me that the area of the yard up there where all the other cats were buried is a kind of a peaceful place, and maybe kind of a little bit of a sacred place too. And that's what he wanted me to know about.
Excellent. Excellent. Maybe Yus was interdimensional. Okay. Everybody keep taking some long, slow, deep breaths. Connect with the earth. If there's someplace else you want to go, you can go there now. Explore where you want to explore. Or just sit the way Nick is and hold the energy of feeling very relaxed, very peaceful, very grounded to the earth. And you can come slowly, slowly back into your body. Take your time. Ground to the earth. Take long, slow, deep breaths. Ground to the earth. Give yourself time to shift the energy. You may be feeling a little lightheaded, so nobody try to get up. And you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. And come back to your regularly scheduled reality at any time. I'm going to chant a little bit more to help you reestablish connection with physical reality. thank nature wherever you were. You were in the beach, the waterfalls, in the forest, or up in the air. Just take your time. When everyone's back, we can turn the lights back on. Spirits of the air conditioning make themselves known.
How it turned on.
The soundtrack of the air conditioning.
Turned on
We
as
talk.
soon as we came back.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Is everybody back? How's everybody except Betty?
Ready there?
How's everybody feeling?
And an adventure, I think we have someone who's, there we go.
Just let it.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's all right.
No, I was going to let her sleep.
Marcy, I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
because it's so interesting when you do these melodic in some cases. In some cases, it almost sounds to me like an American Indian chant and prayer. Can you tell us a little more, the group, about that? How
It's
does
all channeled out of my soul.
Okay.
So some healers have a certain routine. First they do a prayer, then they do this, then they do that. I never know what's going to happen in a shamanic journey until it happens, because every session is channeled for that individual or group of individuals at that point in time. Sometimes there's sounds coming out of my mouth that surprise me. I was telling Tom, since he's a very fine musician, that like most Western trained musicians, I couldn't hear quarter tones and eighth tones, which occur in a lot of Asian music, until I started channeling them. And at first, the notes sounded the same to me, but I knew that they were different notes because I could feel a shift in my vocal cords. So I started listening very, very closely to see, and it happened actually today, I think it did, that there were times when I was singing what one of my former musician band members used to say, that I was singing in between the notes. So those are called quarter tones. Because he was a quarter, this standard diatonic scale is composed of half steps and whole steps, chromatic scale of 12 half steps. Quarter tone is halfway between a half step. An eighth tone is a quarter of a way between the, so it's quarter of a way between a whole step. So these sounds are not familiar to Western ears. And I used to be in a band where we would open we had a 2-hour weekly residency in Chelsea, and we would open every session with me chanting. And one day our sax player decided to jam with me when I was chanting, and he said, I couldn't do it. You were singing in between the notes. I said, those are quarter tones. Those are eighth tones. But so clearly there's some Asian part of my soul that is using these sounds for healing. Because sound is so powerful. That's why when you go to the movies, some of that scary music or happy music. I have a composer friend who used to score soap operas many years ago. And some fool producer got the idea of doing a soap opera, casting the prettiest people he could find, none of whom could act. So they went to my friend Ron and they said, you have to convey all of the music through the score. Not surprisingly, it lasted one season. But, can you imagine? All the music has to come from the score? Really? No, that's supposed to complement actual actors, but that's not how we do it here. It's who you sleep with and how pretty you are. It's how good your acting career is. Yes, Rena?
A lot of people don't know that the bards used to use quarter tones, and like the Welsh and Irish bards used to use quarter tones on their harps. A long time ago.
That's very interesting. So evidently they were tuned into those.
There's some people that think that Irish and Celtic music originate from India.
Well, it did, because the Celtic Empire was vast.
Yeah. And
it's
they
huge.
were nomads and they traveled. But it evolved, of course, to have a very distinctive Celtic sound.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to use quarter tones. They don't anymore.
Because they become more westernized.
Yeah,
but that
more
makes
westernized.
perfect sense that they would do that in ancient times. And And again, because I believe through my channeling work that those quarter tones have healing properties. That they're, it's like a form of psychosurgery with sound, which...
That makes total sense to me. Absolutely does. And I think we're going to learn a lot more about that as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Also, what do they call it? The sound drums?
The Tibetan singing bowls.
Yes, and I was at a meeting at the UN, and there was an amazing demonstration of that. And you could, when they had them, like 4 or 5 going at the same time, and there was this going on with the sound. It's amazing.
It's a very powerful healing modality,
Yes.
a singing bowl. Last June, a neuroscientist friend of mine brought over another neuroscientist friend of hers who was visiting from London, and he had a portable EEG machine. And we decided, since we didn't have 2 machines, because I really want to get in a lab with 2 machines and see what's going on with my subjects, we decided to put it on me while I gave her a session. And I had long suspected, having a bachelor's degree in psychology and an interest in neuroscience, that I would be going in and out of different consciousness states when I'm channeling. I thought I'd be going between alpha and beta and theta. No. When I'm channeling, I'm in gamma. Gamma is the longest brainwave state there is. That's the brainwave state associated with Tibetan lamas and the oneness. So I thought that was absolutely fascinating. And I need to figure out a way to finance this research, because my neuroscientist friend has she's an art curator, and she knows another neuroscientist who's an art curator at NYU who has the EEG machines in her lab, but she'll only give me a one-off, so I have to get some sort of funding for ongoing research.
What about FundMe, one of those groups? Have you thought of that?
Well, it's so tricky to do that, because I've actually read the terms, and if you don't make your goal by a certain time, you lose the money.
There are things like that.
And there are various, legal issues and securities issues, because it's regulated now. So being a lawyer, I'm not sure I want to go into that field without knowing absolutely everything about it, because I think it can be problematic.
Okay. I want you to do a podcast with me soon, and you should definitely talk about that, and maybe reach out to the people listening and say, would you like to sponsor, would you like to help produce? You don't know who's out there.
Well, I do have a friend in Charleston, South Carolina, who in 2010 I shot a pilot for a ghost hunting show that she was trying to sell. I was the psychopomp, the person who released the trapped spirit.
Ooh,
And now, of course, there's zillions of ghost hunting shows. She was never able to sell that show, but when I told her about this experience with the neuroscientist, she said, forget that. Apparently the trend in reality TV now is healing. But the problem is there's no way to show visually what's going on. If I'm in a lab with 2 EEG machines, you can actually see visually what's going on with people's brain waves. So she said she wants to shoot a pilot and try to sell that as a show. So
that's exciting. That just sounds right.
yeah, she's busy with a zillion things, but this is reminding me that I need to ping her and say, hey, and ping the other neuroscientists, because I want Janet to come up and videotape this, or else I'll get another friend to videotape it and send her the footage. Yes, Carol?
Just a question, because I'm trying to follow you really fast. Are you working to do this with sound, be able to measure the sound that you produce in healing?
No,
What
to
is-
measure an EEG machine, it's an electroencephalogram.
Right,
It measures the
I understand that.
brainwave states.
Oh, okay, to measure your brainwaves.
Yes, to see what because what I want to see, and now this is all digital. In the old days, when I was doing cardiology research, everything was on a flat piece of graph. You'd have to digitize it and try to. Now, since it's all computerized, what I want to look at from a research perspective is the correlations between my brainwave states and my subjects to see, because I would imagine that I'm teaching people how to achieve gamma, and I say this because I'm able to help people heal from chronic depression in one session. I did a session a few weeks ago for the 29-year-old daughter of a coworker, because my coworker was complaining that her daughter was very depressed. She'd taken her to a psychiatrist who wanted to medicate her. And my friend said, oh, no. And I said, I can do this over the phone. 36 minutes, it was a record. And I know she was healed of depression because late in the session she said, there's hope. I said, of course there's hope. And then when we finished the session, she reported something that every person who recovers from depression reports. She said that her vision was clearer and colors were brighter.
Whoa,
So I knew that she was healed of depression.
that's incredible.
Yeah,
It really
and
is.
the big pharmaceutical companies will hate me because they make a lot of money selling people drugs that don't really seem to work.
Oh,
There is
boy.
no actual research, but what it does do is get people addicted to a lot of drugs.
We're gonna deal with that next Saturday. That's one of the categories, and it's a big one, as you know. And it's outrageous. It's a scandal on so many levels.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, that's
Oh,
one
yes.
of the subjects we're gonna.
Statins are a scam to, cholesterol has nothing to do with heart disease.
Hello?
It's a scam to sell statins. Yes, Carol?
Wasn't there work done like that at the Mayo Clinic with the gurus? I know Swami Rama was tested at the Mayo Clinic years ago, and they checked their brain waves.
Mhm.
And wasn't there work done like that you can use?
Well, I can't say that I could use it because those guys weren't doing healings. They were doing relaxation. In fact, I did, in my misspent youth, I did research in preventive cardiology in the late 70s. And one of the people on the team was Dr. Herb Benson, who wrote the book, The Relaxation Response, who did a lot of research in Boston with Swami saying, we can control our heart rates, we can control our brain waves. But I think those are the studies you're referring to. Those weren't Swamis
Not healing.
doing healing. Those were Swamis saying, hey, I have total control over my autonomic nervous system and I can control my heart rate. And
Right.
yeah, and your aura is glowing a beautiful light green right
Oh,
now.
well, thank you. It's a healing program.
Yeah, that's a healing thing. Yes.
I bought a CD on tuning forks,
hmm
and, what's your take on that?
Again, it's all about vibration. And we have been really messed with because today Western orchestras tune to a 440A, 440 decibels per minute. But in Mozart's time, it was a 432 because that was sacred music. And the reason it was changed was to reduce the healing power of music. Now, European orchestras tune to a 444A. I found this out through personal experience when, in 1973, I was performing with an orchestra in Rome, Italy, and we were being coached by members of the Santa Cecilia Orchestra. And even though I was a 17-year-old kid, I had been selected to be in a wind ensemble where everyone else except for one other teenager was either a graduate student or a professor of music. And I am not cursed with perfect pitch, because this is how I found out it is a curse, because the people in our group with perfect pitch, there were people coaching us from the Santa Cecilia who, with perfect pitch, who said, you guys play flat. And our people said, no, you guys play sharp. So being musicians, instead of having a fist fight, they said, okay, next week when you come, we'll take out our pitchforks. They took out their pitchforks, and that's how we found out that they tuned it to, and of course everybody burst out laughing. But whenever our group would go to hear the Santa Cecilia, the people in our orchestra with perfect pitch, it was like fingernails on a chalkboard. It was driving them up a wall because they could hear those 4 decibels, whereas I had relative pitch, but not perfect pitch.
Wasn't there a famous case of a Russian orchestra that came here and played at a different decibel or different vibration? I forget what you call it.
Tuning?
Than the Western orchestras did, and they had a problem. I remember reading about that. Maybe Tom.
Yeah, Tom, do you know what
There was a
Russian
back in the
orchestras tune?
70s.
I used to be a bassoonist, and I know that bassoons are tuned to a 436A.
They
so-
had a different. They tuned to a slightly different register. Exactly what
Yeah,
you
well,
said.
yeah,
in
concert
the
pitch.
Western
Con-
orchestra.
Yeah, concerts, they tune to an A.
They had some problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Different orchestras in different cultures tune to different vibrations, whereas if everybody were using 432, it would be a much more benefit and calm to the music, because there's a reason why the works of Mozart and Schubert are now today referred to as sacred music, because it very much is sacred music. It has an effect. That's why a lot of hip-hop and things like that are actually anti-music. I can't listen to some of that stuff, because if you listen to the syncopations of the beats, it's actually designed to disrupt your heartbeat. It's designed to make you anxious. It's designed to make you hostile. I mean, people tell me, oh, I listen to hip-hop and I want to go out and kill pigeons. I said, that's why you shouldn't listen to it. because it's designed to make you violent and horrible and go out and kill
I can
people.
second that because I can't listen to it.
Can't listen to it
It's just exactly puts me in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I just feel that so strongly. I said, got to get rid of it, got to turn it off.
Yeah, you have to turn, because it's designed to make people aggressive.
And let me ask you a question, because it's pervasive in advertising, in the sound of movies. It's like you can't get away from it, and it's almost like, what's going on? It's almost like you're trying to incite communities for hateful actions, right?
Yes, and it's deliberate, because remember, Satanists control the entertainment
Okay, here we
industry.
go.
And when people are angry and upset, they cannot think rationally. So if you want to mind control someone, make them. Why do you think there's so much anger on hate radio? Michael Savage is always angry, and Alex Jones is always angry.
Oh,
These
boy.
guys are CIA disinformation agents who are deliberately trying to stir up hatred and anger, because when you're in a state of that kind of emotional disturbance, you can't think clearly, you
That's
can't
right.
think rationally, and you are subject to mind control. Yes, Betty?
I'm wondering whether your energy and sounds would be too intense for a newborn.
Well, again,
But
since
they're
everything's...
still, in a sense, they're still with God.
Well, since everything's channeled, whatever came through in the presence of a newborn would be channeled for that
Would
baby.
it be the energy too intense for a newborn?
No, because that's what I'm saying. Everything's channeled for that person at that point in time. That I'm not in charge. I'm not thinking up the sounds. The spirits are using me as a vehicle. Okay, I'm the radio, and the spirits come through, and so and in fact I've done work on animals that were sick. I also am a vibrational healer, so I can put my hands directly in someone's aura. All my coworkers, I mean, if somebody complains they've got a headache, I'm like, I can get rid of that, you know. And people, they're astonished because they don't believe that it can happen, but proves that it can happen. You know, my boss was complaining her back hurt. I said, oh, I can get rid of that. She's looking at me. That's crazy. She's laughing because she didn't have any belief that I could help her. And in under a minute, her back pain was gone. But being a very funny person, she said, "Can you do anything about the fat?"
Oh boy.
Yes, Rena.
Here we go.
When you were channeling the sounds, for some reason I felt very, very anxious. And I've never felt that before. Do you have any...
Yeah, I think that if you were reacting that way, it's because there was anxiety in your cells that was coming up to be experienced so it could be released. Because and this is what's wrong with Western therapy. Trauma and various emotions get stuck in our physical body. You can't work that out in your mental body by talking. You have to work that out in your physical body. You have to go through those emotions.
I was having strange thoughts, too.
Yeah, so obviously something was coming up that was stuck to be released.
Really strange thoughts.
Do you want to share these strange thoughts? Are they too personal?
They're too embarrassing.
I remember when I went over to your place, Marcy, because you were going to do a session for me and with me, and it was quite something. And I was certainly there in the mood and relaxing, like you were saying, and breathing. And then I had no idea that those sounds were going to be coming from you. And for 1 second, I almost want to hit the floor because I was like, "Whoa! You know what the heck?"
Fallout shelter siren.
Because I just didn't expect it, and all of a sudden something was going on.
Yeah.
But that was quite a session, and I felt that I had left where I was, and you were guiding me to a place in the universe, and I was feeling that, and it was quite an amazing adventure.
Well, I'm glad that you experienced it that way, because we are cosmic beings, and we're falsely socialized to believe that we're powerless, because it's a whole lot easier to control cosmic beings if they're under delusion that they're powerless than if the Dalai Lama says if 5% of the planet's population meditated for 5 minutes on world peace, we'd have it, because it's the 100th monkey syndrome, you know, a certain... Furthermore, I've noticed certain patterns in the work that I do. For example, frequently chronically depressed people will go to the future and I'll say what year is it, and they'll give me a year, 10, 12 years in the future, and they're living somewhere else, they're doing something different. People with very severe allergies will go to the past and relieve a past life trauma, and they no longer have the allergy. Another thing that I've noticed, of course, a lot of people have tears and pain to release, so there's always a box of tissues in my healing room. But I find, particularly with people who were raised Catholic, that they have a lot of repressed laughter from when they were children and they were forced to go to church and they saw these things that didn't make any sense to them that they thought were hilarious, but they had to keep their laughter quiet or they were going to get smacked around. And
Guilty.
yeah, so
Guilty, yeah.
And I had a session with my friend Roger, the one with the gallstones. He and another friend of his who was raised Catholic came over, and the two of them were rolling on the floor of my apartment for 15 or 20 minutes, releasing all this repressed laughter from all those times in church that they had to hold their breath and they couldn't laugh, and it was stuck there and it needed to come out.
There was one time on the altar, and it was a high mass, and I was there because I was raised Roman Catholic, and had a nun. My aunt was a nun in the Catholic Church. I was a superior, and I'm looking at the priest, and he's facing the far wall, and he's got his robes on and everything. And then I'm looking at him, and something's going on because he seems to be teetering, and I thought, what is going on? And he's a little bit more, and then all of a sudden he goes and he falls straight back, all the way down on the altar,
fainted, yeah.
completely back. But he didn't bend or anything. He literally went like that.
Yeah, he fainted.
And unfortunately, it looked like a comic move.
But it wasn't.
And it was killing me
Yeah, 'cause
because
you
it
couldn't
was
laugh.
right. And I know I was hoping he wasn't hurt or anything,
Yeah.
but it was such a comic move, and it was killing me not to burst out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're right.
Well, we can do a laughter release session, but I find virtually everyone who was raised Catholic has this from when they were little kids.
That's so funny.
It's
That
all
is
stuff there.
amazingly funny. Well, one other question I want to ask you too.
Sure.
I know we
have
not
time.
a lot more time, but the subject of recurring dreams. That's a subject that I'm interested in because I'm one of those people who have a recurring dream, and it's like, what is being said to me?
Okay, a recurring dream is your subconscious is trying desperately to communicate a message to you, and the dream is going to recur and recur and recur until you get the message. Do you want to share the contents of this dream with this room, and everybody
Sure.
will be amateur sleuth dream interpretation?
We have no secrets in this family. It's a dream that I'm in a big city that I do not know, and I'm trying to get to a particular place, and I have no clue as how to get there. And sometimes I take false paths and say, oh, this isn't it, go back and try another path. And sometimes it's incredibly frustrating because I've got to get there, and it's totally unknown. It's a totally unknown terrain for me. And I've had that reoccurring a fair amount.
Okay.
Oh, we got a hand up.
Okay, so should I start my
Two hands
interpretation
up.
and then everybody? I think that this is about your soul's dedication to truth seeking. That's what I think.
See, that fits. That does fit.
Rena?
I think it's about you trying to see the future, and you're trying to find a way to the future, but you're having difficulty because it's the future.
I think that's got to be part of it too, Arena. I do. So you're right on that. Okay.
I'll go with what Marcy said.
Yep.
You're on your journey, your path, and you're the path of life. And you're not sure where you want to be, but you're not sure how to get there.
Yes.
That's why it's recurring, because you're constantly seeking. And I just want to add this, which it made me think of this. There is a series of movies on Muslim. I don't know if they're actually stories or the director made them up, but one of them is very much like that. It's my favorite. It's called Baba Aziz. I don't know have you seen that? Baba Aziz?
No.
In it starts off with the story of a prince who was looking for life, the true path of life. You don't realize the end of the story until you get there. But the Baba Aziz, which means father, Baba, he has a granddaughter, and he's also he's a singer, a Muslim singer, and he's very old, he's very ancient, and once every 80 years, there is a convocation of other imams or singers. And he's in the desert, and he's blind, and he's going there. And his granddaughter says, how can you get there? You can't. I'll find the way. And he finds the way, even though he's blind and he doesn't know where he's going. I just wanted to share that.
No,
It's a great
thank you so
movie. If
much.
anyone sees it, it's filled with wonderful music because he meets along the way others who sing from different traditions. And they just sing in the desert as they go along until they finally come to this city, which I understand was filmed in Iran, and later on it was the ruins of a city that were destroyed in an earthquake, an ancient city. And he filmed the end of it when they gathered there.
Wow.
It's a great movie. It's called Bab Aziz, B-A-B-A-Z-I-Z.
Well, that's a recurrent theme in a lot of spiritual traditions about the blind man who can, I mean, it's in the Greek, who, right, and the blind samurai movies in the Japanese, and, you know, yeah. Yes, Betty?
We have any final comments? Go ahead.
When you send out your energies in sound and different tones, I'm trying to understand whether you're trying to reach the higher deities or just sending it out into eternity.
Well, I don't cognize it that way. I just open myself up as the channel for healing energies and allow them to work through me. In fact, there's a prayer that I do every night before I go to sleep, and which is really odd for a person who was raised by atheists, but I give a prayer to Mother Earth, Father Sky, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun, Mother Father God, Great Spirit, all that is, and I say that I come with the highest intention for the greatest good and ask that they be in me, with me, and work through me to open my heart even wider to divine love, to open my mind even wider to divine wisdom, to open my body even wider to divine healing, and to open my soul even wider to divine light. And then I give thanks for the opportunity to walk in this time and space and whatever else I want to. Mark.
Betty, I think in knowing Marcy just a little bit, I think from what I know of you, it's not so much that you're trying to reach the divine, but you're opening yourself up to allow the divine to reach down to us.
That's what.
It's the
Yeah.
other direction.
That's what I was trying to convey.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
right?
opening myself
Yeah.
up as the radio.
Conduit.
Yeah.
You mentioned before about if you see an orb that does some spirits or something. Because sometimes I see, like, in the side of my eye, I'll see like a little orb, but then it disappears.
Yeah.
So I thought it was with my eyes, there's something wrong with my eyes, but lately I see them occasionally. So that would be.
Those are spirits communicating with you. And do you see regular colors? Or sometimes I see orbs that are colors that are impossible to describe because they don't exist in this plane. It's like pink and blue and white all at the same time.
I don't know because sometimes I think it's like a bright blue or something like
Mhm.
that. It's like, but it comes and goes, and then I go,
Yeah.
what was that?
Those are different intelligences communicating with it. That's what I think. And that's a good sign because that means you're opening to your spirituality if you're starting to see the orbs.
A good time. I mean, it's like
Yeah, like little, little
Yeah,
things
yeah.
they blink on and off. Yeah.
You have a
How?
Just a very quick question. I know you studied for a long time with various. Was it a very hard study to, when you do the chanting and opening yourself with healing, not to let your own emotions at all slip into the healing that you do?
Well, I'm not in my own ordinary consciousness. See, I'm in another consciousness.
Right.
So my emotions aren't playing in the game. I mean, it's I'm tuning to a different frequency
Right.
on the dial.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, it's because it's hard to explain because I can channel with my eyes open, I can channel consciously, but my ego is taking a little rest somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Something else is coming in.
ego is really the enemy. Ego is something you have to get
Well,
rid of, right?
I don't agree with that completely. I think it's
Okay.
something you have to tame. I mean, we all need an ego in order to function in society. Otherwise, there'd be no boundaries with anybody. But
Yeah.
it's when the ego is hurt and trying to exert power over others instead of having power with others. That's where the
Okay.
problem starts.
Okay, yes, that makes sense to me too. Any final before we go? Yeah. Rena?
One thing I've noticed with your channelings is it feels like stuff is being taken out of my aura.
Yes.
Like dark energies.
Absolutely, it's cleansing.
Except for today, I had the anxiety, but
Yeah, but
all
that's-
the other
yeah.
times, it feels like stuff is being pulled out.
Well,
And
that's energetically what's going on, because you know Maya Linda Leibowitz. I met her in this group, okay? I was working with Maya when she was living up here, helping her with her mind control. She's a Project Monarch and Project Montauk survivor, so I had met her here at one of these meetings and told her I could shut down her suicide programming, and Alan White was there. He said, she can do what she says she can do. So I was, having her come whenever she wanted to come, and one day she said to me, can you remove cords? Cords are energy attachments from, and they may not necessarily be from this life. Well, that's something I was trained to do in my arch work, the HUNA stuff, Ancient Rainbow Conscious Healing. Now, this woman's extremely psychic, and she's lying down, and I'm working on her. She's got her eyes closed, silently. And I reached in, and there was a big one, and I went, yank, and she screamed.
Whoa.
And because she could feel it. So I think that I'm able to do that not only by sticking my hands in someone's aura, but remotely through sound, because I think that's, don't quote me on it, I don't know for sure, but I would hypothesize that yes, I've been pulling cords out of you, through, well, not me, the sounds coming through me have been pulling those attachments off of you.
I used to have a friend who was very clairvoyant, and she did a reading for me one time. She said, you have a really bad cord in your back, and it's from somebody in your family. I later figured out who it was. But
did you get rid of it?
no, I don't think I have. I think it's still there. So
Well, we can find it afterwards. Yes, Jen?
Can you define what that is when you say cords?
It's an energetic attachment, because we are all energy, or we are all consciousness, but if somebody has negative intent toward you, they can actually injure you with their thoughts. That's how voodoo works. Okay? And they can cord you with this negative energy. And it can stick through multiple incarnations.
Never heard that term before.
Yeah, look it up. It's Shamanism 101.
Also witchcraft.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. It's coming. It's stuff that's coming from the dark side of the Force, to put it in science fiction terms. Because remember, when I first saw Star Wars, the very first one back in 1977, I flipped out because I had been studying Buddhism, and I recognized these classic Buddhist stories being put into this film, which a lot of people didn't realize at the time.
Marcy, we're coming towards the end of quite an amazing time of your program. I can't tell you how much we've all totally enjoyed it. And I want to ask you if there's any final thoughts you want to end the program with, anything you'd like to give to the...
Okay, well, what we did today, these are your tools. These places that you went to and these guides that you got, they're there for you. So whenever you're feeling stressed about something, or you have just close your eyes, do the deep breathing, go back to that place and call on that guide. Or remember those of you who are experiencing peace and freedom and joy and playfulness, go back and re-experience that. And because meditation is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more powerful it becomes, the easier it is for you to go into, okay, I'll give you an example. 2013, I slipped on some black ice, I broke some bones. I was in the hospital for 2.5 weeks, and then nursing home and rehab. And some of my friends are like, oh, this is horrible, this is terrible, this is like, no, this is what it is. And from my perspective, it happened because I was not saying no to anyone. I wasn't getting my own projects done. I was giving all my energy to other people. And so I had to be physically stopped before I would just, because I probably would have given myself a heart attack. I was just doing everything for everyone and not taking care of myself. But the second thing was, I had never in my life had that much time to devote to meditation. And I would lie in my hospital bed, doped up on painkillers, meditating for hours at a time, which has enabled me to go places in meditation that I never thought I'd be able to go. So everything is up to you. These are your tools. And of course, You know, I do this as a business, so that any of you who want to come for private sessions, and we can do, you know, ask me, I'll give you my card. But these are your tools. These are your tools to use and to work with on your own, because they're powerful. And we all have these abilities. And that's why, and this is not a statement of religion, this is a statement of spiritual truth. That's why Jesus said, ye are gods. If you could see yourselves as you truly were, you would endure anything, because we've been shut down from our ability to connect. And that's why, you know, the Illuminati and these reptilians, that's why they envy us, because they don't have souls. When they die, they die. That's why the Anunnaki are so obsessed with life extension, and that's why they're so obsessed with drinking blood and all this stuff. We are eternal beings. This body is just a temporary casing. But we are God-like beings, because we can create with our consciousness, and we can co-create with each other. And that is why the power structure is so threatened by peace activists such as Nick and myself getting in large gatherings and bringing forth a positive vibe. And that's why they're trying to counteract it with the hip-hop and the violent music, because the most powerful thing in the world are a bunch of peaceful people working together.
Well, that's the truth. On behalf of everybody in the room here at Disclosure Network New York, and the listeners that will be hearing the program, I just want to tell you, Marcy, you are a total joy. Please, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bravo! Wow,
Thank
that was just. It doesn't get better.
Thank you, Nick. I love you from the bottom of my soul. You are a true
It doesn't
friend.
get better. Guys, just a quick couple of quick announcements. Don't forget that